بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد، إخوة الإسلام عباد الله. This day and time we are currently experiencing the fitna of Takfir. Takfir being the declaration of a Muslim to be outside of the fold of Al-Islam. This particular fitna is occurring as a result of some from amongst the Muslims whose hukam will be considered the laymen or those that are ignorant, them reading some of the books of Aqidah that are specifically dealing with the nullifiers of Al-Islam. And instead of reading these books in order to benefit themselves by ensuring that they don't fall into those nullifiers, they start to point the finger of takfir at others, with a half understanding of these nullifiers. This particular issue is very dangerous, to say the least. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he taught us in an authentic narration that is upon the authority of Abdullah ibn Umar Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhima, أيما امرئ قال لأخيه يا كافر فقد باء بها أحدهما إن كان كما قال أو إلا رجعت عليه أو كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said that any man that says to his brother, "Oh, kafir," then this statement, it returns back to one of the two. And either he is just as what was said about him, or it returns back to the one that made the statement. It returns back to the one that made the statement. The people of knowledge from amongst the past, they had several ways that they understood this particular statement of the Prophet ﷺ, meaning they differed in what its intent was. Some from amongst the people of knowledge, as Imam Nawawi points out in his explanation to Sahih Muslim, that some held the opinion that what was intended by this particular narration was that a person who makes permissible that which is not permissible from sinfulness, such as killing or zina, and thus forth and so on, and the statement about his brother being a kafir without his brother actually believing in the falsity of Al-Islam, and thus forth and so on. For him who makes this permissible, then this particular statement would apply to him. Some from amongst the people of knowledge stated that it referred to the Khawarij. As the Khawarij, their madhab is that of at-takfir, declaring Muslims to be disbelievers as a result of sins that they fall into, major sins specifically. Then you have some from amongst the people of knowledge that understood this statement to be that one sins if a person becomes abundant in committing sins and fruitful in committing sins, then his sins will lead him to disbelief. They will lead him to disbelief. Others from amongst the people of knowledge, they understood this particular statement to be that, look, this ruling of takfir that you apply to your brother who does not believe in the falsity of Al-Islam, he has not fallen into any type of nullifier of Al-Islam, that ruling that you made, it returns back to you. Why? Because you are passing this ruling on someone who is just like you, a person that has iman, a person that does not believe in the falsity of Al-Islam, a person that does not fall into that which will expel him from al-Islam. So you pass the ruling of disbeliever on one who no one would pass the ruling on disbeliever on except one who disbelieves in al-Islam, aslan. These are some of the interpretations as it relates to this particular statement. The main point is that whatever the case may be concerning the reality of the intent of this statement, it is a very dangerous issue and or affair. It is a very dangerous issue and or affair. Because one, when it comes to takfir, it has its conditions. There are conditions that have to be in place in order to make this ruling valid. And these things have to be looked at and examined. Likewise, there are the protocols and guidelines to takfir that the common person is totally unaware of. That's one. Two, when looking at these books, looking at the nullifiers of al-Islam, the declaration of something to be disbelief in an unrestricted sense does not necessitate that an individual now applies this to specific individuals. This takes knowledge. There is a difference between the two. There is a clear difference between the two. Three, another point is that because this takes knowledge and there's a difference between the two, at-takfir is only for the scholars. It is a right of the scholars of this ummah, and that is it. It is not possible for a student of knowledge to embark upon this, and it's definitely not possible for someone from amongst the common folk to pass such rulings. And that is because, again, there are intricacies to this affair. Right now, I want to quote a fatwa from Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymin from his book Liqa'at al-Bab al-Maftuh. As he was asked the question, هل يعتبر الذين لا يحكمون القرآن والسنة ويحكمون القوانين الفرنسية أو الإنجليزية كفارا? He stated, there are those that do not seek judgments from the Quran and the Sunnah. On the contrary, they seek judgments from the from French law or English law. Are these types of people considered to be disbelievers? Disbelievers, as this action is an action of disbelief. Al-Jawab, the response of Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymin, he states, هذا يحتاج إلى النظر إلى السبب الذي حملهم على هذا. He states, this necessitates or requires examining what has caused them to do such. What is causing them to not seek the judgment from the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Messenger and seek judgments from these man-made laws. وهل هناك أحد غرهم ممن يدعي العلم وقال إن هذا لا يخالف الشرع أم ماذا? And then he states, is there anyone amongst them that is deceiving them? Someone who claims to be from the people of knowledge, to the point where this person claiming knowledge says, your action here doesn't oppose the Islamic legislation. This is permissible for you to do. This is okay. Is this their circumstance? Do they have someone with them that is telling them this? فالحكم في هذه المسألة لا يمكن إلا على كل قضية بعينها. So he states, thus the ruling as it pertains to an affair of this magnitude, it is not possible إلا على كل قضية بعينها. What is intended here is that it is not possible to pass the ruling of takfir in this unrestricted sense unless every particular situation is looked into. Every particular situation is looked into because every particular situation has its own intricacies, has its own circumstances that may differ from one to the other. It may differ from one to the other. And sometimes you may find something that will restrict the rule, that on the apparent it appears to be disbelief, but there's something that is in play that prevents or obstructs the ruling of disbelief. For this reason, as Sheikh Muhammad Nasiruddin Al-Albani, or rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, he would say when he was alive that every individual that falls into kufr does not necessitate that the ruling of kafir is applied to him. A person may fall into disbelief, but it does not necessarily mean that the ruling of disbeliever is applied to him. Sheikh Al-Albani and others from amongst the ulama like Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih Al-Uthaymin or rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhima, they made statements of this nature because they had an in-depth understanding of the text of the Quran and the Sunnah. And so I'd like to take a look at two narrations that illustrate the point that sometimes a person can commit on an act of disbelief from the apparent of the action or statement. It is an action or statement of disbelief. However, the ruling of disbeliever is not applied to them. The first narration we have is collected by Imam Muslim in his Sahih, and it is upon the authority of Abu Hurairah, where the Prophet ﷺ stated, قال رجل لم يعمل حسنة قط لأهله إذا مات فحرقوه ثم ذروا نصفه في البر ونصفه في البحر. The Prophet ﷺ, he stated, a man that never did any good ever said to his family that when he dies that they should burn him and then spread half of him throughout the land and half of him throughout the sea. فَوَاللَّهِ لَإِنْ قَدَرَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ لَيُعَذِّبَنَّهُ عَذَابًا لَمْ يُعَذِّبْهُ أَحَدًا مِنَ الْعَالَمِينَ. And he stated, for wallahi, this man, he swore by Allah, if Allah had the ability, then he would punish him with a punishment that was not inflicted upon anyone from amongst jinn and men. فَلَمَّا مَاتَ الرَّجُلُ فَعَلُوا مَا أَمَرَهُمْ. So when this man died, then his family did what he commanded them to do. فأمر الله البر فجمع ما فيه وأمر البحر فجمع ما فيه. So Allah, he commanded the earth to gather what was within it, and he commanded the ocean or seas to gather what was in it. And then Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala reformed this individual, or brought this individual back to life. ثُمَّ قَالَ لِمَا فَعَلْتَ هَذَا. And then Allah said, questioning him, why did you do this? Why did you have them do this? He responded, مِنْ خَشْيَتِكَ يَا رَبُّكَ وَأَنْتَ أَعْلَمُ. I did it out of fear for you, my Lord, and you are well aware of this. فَغَفَرَ اللَّهُ لَهُ. As a result, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala forgave him. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala forgave him. Now, what was that which was considered disbelief that was found within this narration? This individual, he doubted the ability of Allah. This is why he had his family do this, because he doubted that Allah would be able to raise him back up if he did this. Yet and still, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala forgave him. If he was a disbeliever, there would have been no opportunity for forgiveness. And so this is one of the clear narration that shows that sometimes a person can do or say that which is deemed to be disbelief on the apparent, but there is something there that may be obstructing that ruling from being applied to that specific individual. For that specific individual. We have another narration that is collected by both Imam al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim in the two authentic collections. And this is upon the authority of Anas ibn Malik, Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayh, where the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he stated, Lallahu ashaddu farhan bitawbati abdihi hina yatubu ilayhi min ahadikum kana ala rahilatihi bi ardi falatin fanfalatat minhu. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he stated, Allah, He is more severe in happiness with the tawbah of His servant whenever he repents to Him than any one of you all who is upon his riding beast out in the middle of the desert somewhere, and his riding beast escapes him. وَعَلَيْهَا طَعَامُهُ وَشَرَابُهُ. His riding beast escapes him while it is carrying his food and drink. As a result of this, the person now falls into despair. He's out in the middle of the desert with no food or water. Death is imminent. This is something that's very dangerous. Death is imminent. فَأَتَى شَجَرَةً فَاضْطَجَعَ فِي ظِلِّهَا فَأَيْسَ مِنْهَا. So this man, he comes to a tree and now lays down under its shade. And he is قَدْ أَيْسَ مِنْ رَاحِلَتِهِ. He now has some type of despair as it relates to his riding beast. His riding beast is gone. He now despairs. He falls into despair. Because he's basically in a situation where he can die. The Prophet ﷺ did state that while this man was like this, while he was in this state, laying down, maybe if he falls asleep, he wakes up to find his riding beast right in front of him. فَأَخَذَ بِخِطَامِهَا. So he seizes his riding beast by his reins. فَقَالَ مِنْ شِدَّةِ الْفَرَاحِ. And then he says, out of severe happiness, because remember, the hadith starts off that Allah is more severe in happiness for the tawbah of His servant than this individual. So this individual says out of severe happiness, Allahumma innaka abdi wa ana rabbuk akhta'a min shiddatil farah. The man says, "Oh Allah, indeed you are my servant and I am your Lord." And then the Prophet ﷺ, he stated that this man, he makes this mistake out of severe happiness. Out of severe happiness. So the zahir, or the apparent of the statement of the man, is a statement of disbelief. It is a statement of disbelief. However, the Prophet ﷺ is mentioning that there is a cause or a reason to how he made this mistake. And this cause or reason is a means of obstructing a ruling of disbelief being applied to that man. And this is why Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymeen stated that the reasons that are causing them to do this have to be looked into. Because there could be something there that obstructs the ruling of disbelief being applied to that person. And there are many examples and many narrations within the text of the authentic Sunnah that support that point. For this reason, those that fall into this fitna of Takfir, my advice to you would be cease and desist. If you are a common person who just read a book, a matan, a manuscript, without even reading explanations of that manuscript from the scholars, you have no right to embark on Takfir. The only reason why you should have read these manuscripts is to ensure that you don't fall into those actions. And if you by chance see a brother that may be doing something on the apparent, it looks like disbelief, at the very least you advise him against that. But you have no right to pass the ruling of this believer on another Muslim, because you don't have the knowledge that it takes to be able to do so. And not even the students of knowledge have that knowledge. This is a right of the scholars, and that's it. And that's it. And with that said, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. And Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala knows best. Na'am.